everybody. We're back with another episode of the Game of Thrones Recap Podcast.
Woo!
I'm Cameron.
And I am Zach.
And we're recapping episode 4 of season 1 today. Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things is the title of this episode. So if you're tuning in for the first time, the way we've done this so far is Zach knows nothing about Game of Thrones.
Okay, I can't say nothing, but very little.
Very little. This is his first time truly watching through the show. And he's experiencing everything for the first time, whereas I have not. I've seen everything. I'm up to date. I'm anxiously awaiting the new season that's going to be coming out here shortly.
He's read the books?
Yes, I've read the books. So I, we're just capitalizing on those moments of, it's like more fun watching Zach watch this and getting his reactions to stuff.
Oh boy.
Just because of knowing the direction of how this goes later. So
all right,
let's jump into it, because this episode, episode was
my memory is fading already.
So episode 4, give us our recap summary here.
Okay, now before I had tried my very best to do it scene by scene, but I'm going to summarize things by different areas that things happen.
Right, because there's a lot of different areas.
Because they went to the wall. They're at King's Landing. They went to the Dothraki capital, which I can't remember. It's also like a rock name. And, oh, geez. Well, yeah, there is something up in the north. But anyways, that's the end of this. Okay, so let's see. How did it start? Oh, boy. Well, let's just start with King's Landing stuff, because I got a decent handle on that. A lot of things happened in King's Landing. Namely, Ned Stark was starting to go around and inquire about what had happened about the previous hand and why he had died, and the old Maestro man's all like, I don't really know, but there are these things like, no, but seriously, you need to give me, some hard answers. Like, you wanted this book? And it's like, yeah, I'll
take
that.
It's a ponderous tale.
Yes. And he's also like, well, who is he talking to? Some squire, something of the hue. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna look into all this. And did he go anywhere? And he's like, he saw an armorer, blacksmith person a lot. And he's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna get on this. And then he went all PI and, found all this. He got the book. He went and visited the armorer, which pretty sure is a bastard son of the king. Very sure.
Yes, pretty sure.
With his final lines of, if he ever wants to stop, making steel and start, swinging it.
Well, I mean, basically. he does straight up tell his knight right there, I just met one of the bastards of the king.
Yeah.
Right in there.
Yeah. And, okay, so that's him, and he also has, another little tender moment with, Arya, and she's all I want to run my own castle. It's like, oh, you get to have girls and all these things. I don't care. I want to be an agile cat that spears things. Because she's still big on her, she's really taking to, Tony Stark, her master and sensei, sword teachings, and he's all he's gonna have you catch a cat, and he's all oh, you. And, let's see, other Starks. Sansa gets to have, we'll wait for that, because he also talks to Littlefinger for a little bit, and they have, this fun little scene about, informants, and about how he's literally being watched all the time. And he's the one who gives him, some more helpful tips rather than doddering old man.
Yes.
Maestro. And it was at that point where, I don't know. My theory is that no one else in the TV series knows that they're on a show except for Littlefinger, because he just knows enough to know that he's being recorded. He plays the camera. Yeah, he does. He really does. And, we also find out that, bald informant Spider-Man
Varys.
Varys is a eunuch because doddering old man.
Yes. To which Ned is duh, whatever. He's a eunuch. We all know this.
Yeah. Let's see. Then Sansa sort of is having this, royal funk where she's like, but what if I have all daughters and everyone hates me and Joffrey hates me and I am seriously hormonal? And, it even is, intensified. Okay, because my theory is she's not stupid, she's just dumb. Which is unfortunate for her.
Yes. It is unfortunate to be dumb in King's Landing.
Yeah. And Joffrey's all, still, giving her the cold shoulder, which, you let me get mauled by a dog, even though I should be an able-bodied human being.
Yes.
And she's just all nobody likes me.
I want to have your babies. please.
And then Littlefinger, like, gets all up and personal with her and tells her the story about how the Hound was, like, burned by his brother, and that's why his face is all two-faced up. And she's all like, and he's like, don't tell anyone about that, and, like, slyly, like, goes off camera. And, like, I don't know, that's my favorite. That's one of the moments where I'm like, he knows he's on camera.
Yes.
And they told him not to act through it. And let's see. But then that squire that became the knight gets killed in a match, which 100% had to be rigged. I mean, come on. I don't know. That's my
the one person who knows anything.
who knows anything about the past hand and who is close to him gets, like, straight up wrecked and
in an accidental joust death.
Okay, there's no freaking way that was an accident. But sorry, that's not a summary. That's theory. Aside from that, we also had over with the Dothraki, we had some real good stuff with Khaleesi and her brother. Her brother was getting all angry about things because he was, like, having this, like, really, like, dragon talky phallic-y scene with, like, one of her close handmaids. And, you know, it's like, wow, he can maybe be a person. I mean, nope. He's a dick.
Yep.
Whole time.
Yep.
All the time, every time. Although he does get a sweet when he names all the dragon names, so good for you.
Yes.
But yeah, and then he brings her back to his sister, and, like, they have a confrontation. He's like, oh no, you done awoken the dragon. Then Khaleesi's like, bitch, please. I run this. I run this.
Basically. She, like, hits him with the gold chain and everything.
Yeah, with a gold chain and everything. It was the pimpinest thing. Yeah, but that aside, we are now, like, starting to see the rise of Khaleesi as a leader and, like, really squaring off with her brother. And she even has to talk with, is it Jerome? Jorah, whatever. Jorah.
You're really trying to pimpify
this whole
Daenerys
thing.
right now.
Whatever. With her homie Jerome. And they talk, and it's like, listen, hey, is he gonna be aight as a king? And she's like, nah, man, he don't know how to run nothing. But no, seriously, they, like, have an honest talk about how he would not be a good king and about, like, what they really want to see when they go back over, and it's both, like, home. It's like, oh, I knew I liked Jorah. Yeah, got it.
Jorah, you did it.
Jorah. Yay, that's the only time I'll call him that. Okay, and that's pretty much Dothraki's side. And then we go to the Wall, where they get a new recruit, Samwise Gamgee, to good old Frodo Snow.
Frodo Snow. Oh,
and, yeah, come on, the hair, the never mind. Anyways.
Yes.
But basically, he is woefully unprepared to be at the Wall. And
right.
gets the crap kicked out of him in practice.
Yes.
And he even admits to, like, being a coward. And Jon is just all like, well, come on, what good is he going to do to beat the crap out of him? Let's actually, you know, like, be okay to him. And, you know, through, like, various threats with his albino dog, which he just, like, whips out, and
yes.
Other stuff, he befriends this sort of cowardly man. And we also find out that Jon Snow has never taken a lady ever because of the fact that he's a bastard son, and he does not want to have a bastard himself. To some just, like,
interesting layer of psychology there.
Yeah, I don't know. It just adds more to his smolder, his trademark smolder.
It makes him more appealing to the fangirls, too.
Yeah, probably. Let's see. Yeah, and then there's also another one of the mention of, like, Captain of the Guard comes in. It's like, you've been pampering this guy, but you're all going to die in the winter because everything's terrible, and, like, your fingers freeze off immediately, and we eat our horses, and then we eat people, and man, I wish we'd had this porker Sam with us. Super awkward, super... Yeah,
yes,
and then they also...
awkward.
Let's see, what other thing did they have?
I think that's it for the Wall.
Yeah, pretty much for the Wall.
Catelyn,
I mean, they had... No, we're getting to that. Tyrion and Catelyn were putting together because
yes.
they end up coalescing into a major thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they had some other sort of heart-to-heart, like where you know they're bros at another point in the episode. But basically, that's it for the Wall. Like,
yes.
this new guy is in there, and, like, you can tell that everyone's, like, becoming, you know, closer. And it's interesting because there's still, like, schisms. It was kind of like high school. That was one of my comments. Like, is this,
yes.
like, getting all up in high school in here? Come on.
Yes.
Okay, and then back to actual Castle Stark, where we have Robert is running things while Mommy is away, and Tyrion comes in and is all like, where is she? You guys don't know any courtesies. And he's, like, super cool to Bran, who gets brought down by their Pokemon Hodor. Yeah, because he can only say his name. I don't know. He looked like he would be a pretty good starter.
Oh my gosh.
But let's see. Then he's all like, I made the design for you so you'd be able to like ride on a horse even though you're crippled, and like us like broken people have to like stick together. And he's like only nice to Bran, and he's just like cold, well, his trademark Tyrion to everyone else.
Yes, trademark Tyrion.
And so that happens, and on the way out he is met by a Greyjoy, which the only reason I can say I know about Greyjoys is from the Game of Thrones game.
Yes, we've
and I know
played
that
the Game of Thrones board game.
They're a type of people in there, and they like live on an island, and it makes sense because they talk about all like their ships coming in and just like wrecking people. And it's like, oh yeah, didn't we like kill a bunch of the Lannisters, some of the Blond plague? He's like, yes, you killed one of my like 3 million Lannister family. I don't know, they're everywhere. It's crazy.
They are everywhere.
And they have that thing, and it's interesting just because, you have to question the loyalty of this person, even though everyone who talks about him otherwise is like, great, 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 but Tyrion's all like, ho, I wouldn't be so sure, because, well, I don't know, that's his trademark thing. Don't really know about this guy. And so far he seemed like he's alright, but he did kind of let it slip that Catelyn was not in. Which makes it very poignant with the last scene of the episode where she's just sitting in there with Mr. Neckbeard, and
yes.
like a seedy minstrel's like, hey, I'm gonna play you a song. And he's like, get out of here, you. And then Tyrion comes in, and it's all like...
And it's very Tyrion.
Yeah, and he's like, I want a room. And she's like, there's no more rooms. I have money. And the person's like, cool money. And he's like, I have a room. Oh, Catelyn, hey, how you doing? And calls her out, like, in the most...
Yes, and
jerk way possible, because
way.
he knows that she's trying to like not be seen.
Yes.
And the minstrel makes it worse.
Yes.
And he's just like, and then she like starts naming off all these people and how they're like connected to the king. All great. It's like, well, what does this avail you? It avails you because you tried to kill my baby. Everyone sees this hoe.
Yes. And then boom, credits.
And then boom, credits. So
yes.
Yeah, that was pretty much episode 4 in a nutshell.
It was episode 4 in a nutshell, and like we said earlier, there is like a big just info dump in this episode too. There's just so much going on.
There was a lot of stuff. I mean, there was also another scene where like, a lot happens in King's Landing, because there's this person who's real close to Ned that had a talk with Jaime.
Yes.
And it was poignant.
Yes. Because Jaime's sitting there and guarding the king while the king's, got like a multiple horrors.
And he basically straight up says, like, the hand is like the second in command. He says, like, he's not with me, and that is a very interesting piece of information.
It is. So as far as this episode goes, we got some interesting tidbits of history as well for some of these characters. So we had sort of the various dragons of Westeros in the scene with Viserys and his little whore, and then we had the scene with Sansa and her teacher, who are they're walking through the hall, and they kind of talk about how this was built, and you kind of get the sense that things have been just as complicated in the past for these people as they've been in,
most definitely,
as they are now. Namely for Jorah, who finally we kind of hear a little bit of how, in particular, he got exiled this episode. Which is, I mean, he basically sold those people into slavery. Got caught doing it to feed the whims of his like money grubbing wife.
Yeah,
and got exiled for it.
No, that wouldn't. Never mind. My first thought was I wonder if it was Cersei, but I don't think it is.
No. I mean, we could see maybe as that plays out. I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, I figured that person will be brought up later, so don't say anything else.
But I think there's one key point to take away from what Jorah says there, and he says that he believes that there's a bunch of dangerous people in Westeros, but he doesn't think they're the king. And he immediately brings up Ned Stark exiling him. But I was wondering who else you thought maybe.
Well, yeah, no, and he said like if I were to go back, Ned Stark would be the first one to try and kill me, which I thought was interesting. Yes. Like, oh, okay. But is it due to his honor or due to some other kind of beef?
But the question is like, who else do you think Jorah might find like the
Lannisters? 100%, 1000% Lannisters.
You think the Lannisters?
Very much so.
Yeah.
I feel like he would be one of the ones to like confirm my theory that they are just power hungry and they have their fingers in everything.
It's true. It seems like everywhere you go,
there's a Lannister or someone closely affiliated with them.
Which I think also makes the scene with Littlefinger and Ned in the Garden more poignant. Which brings me to my next question, of course, with the spies in the garden. That's one of my favorite moments in maybe even all of Game of Thrones.
Everyone.
Well, and it also just is like this key moment of insight to letting you know, like, look. like, this is how the world works. Like, people are going to be watching and listening. You're not sure who is on your side and who's
And
not.
everyone is saying don't trust anyone, and poor Ned Stark's like, honor, and they're like, you are gonna not do well.
Yes. But my question for you, Zach, is if you were a spy in the Game of Thrones universe, who would you want to serve most out of the people that are mentioned there? And, like, what would your cover be?
So me as a person.
Yes, so because, like, listen, we had Varys, who had Littlefinger points at, like, the little boys sitting under the tree. He's like, those are Varys's. And then he's like, the woman over there fake reading her book, that one's mine. Oh, and the old man who's gardening, that one's Cersei's. So,
so the different things of it is Cersei's has, like, weird connections, and I feel like they would get cut off real hard, just because that seems to be a Lannister thing to do. Littlefinger is basically like ladies, so unless I'm going to sell my body, I'm pretty much not going to be in his envoy. I honestly would pick Varys because his network is just so varied and obviously unpredictable. He would be the best one to beat with.
Which is interesting because he brings up in the episode before this that he even has spies in the north. And it's like, well, like, wait a second, who? Because there's no one up there that seems obvious.
Yeah, there's no one there that... And the funny thing is I feel like his people are in a position where they just give information, and typically they are in a position where they have to, like, betray anyone. So it could literally just be someone in House Stark.
It could be. Let's also talk about the sort of the theme of this episode. It's entitled Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things, and I think this episode has, like, a lot of examples of all three of those. We have obviously the Cripples of Bran, and even to an extent Tyrion, because he's a dwarf. You know, he seems to sympathize a lot with like Bran's state of being crippled, but also...
But let's talk about metaphysically with venereal disease Malfoy.
Wait, are we saying he's an emotional cripple, maybe?
Well, I mean, he's just not getting how little power he has, and he's struggling with that.
Yes. And I think the other thing to take away from that with him is
and also the broken relation with his sister, because they've never had a good relationship, and that came to a super big head.
He's operating as if he's like the king right now.
Yeah, but they haven't done anything.
He's not. He realizes he hasn't earned it, and it's kind of interesting because Daenerys already sort of conducts herself in sort of a regal manner, but in a lot of ways she has done a lot more to earn it. You know?
And she's like learned the culture and stuff. But all he's ever done is like sit on the horse and like look disdainfully at people.
Yes, I love that scene where they're marching into Vistoth Rock, and he's like, and he's like. He's like, Khal Drogo's marching my army in, like, literally the opposite direction. And it literally is the opposite direction
of where they need to be going.
And the funny thing is, he still thinks it's his army.
Yeah, he says that all the time. And, like, I don't know. I don't know how he, like, got that grand picture in his head.
No, I know.
really don't.
As if, I mean... I think maybe he gets the idea because if he was in Westeros, like, if you make a deal...
If you had sold off your sister, then you are of a... power, but
I mean, that could seal the deal in like a Westeros agreement, but that doesn't work there.
Here. Yeah, and it's funny because it's like we had talked about like last episode, like the cultural things. I just don't think the thing is he's starting to get it, but he doesn't want to believe it. I think is where he's at.
Yeah, I think so. I think. Well, I don't know. Maybe if he's in denial so much as he's just like oblivious. Maybe he's just blind to the roots.
Even to some degree. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. Him as a character, I'm still trying to fully understand if he's really just that dumb or if it's just, like, so ingrained in him he can't think that that's not a thing that would be.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, there's the bastards, too, that we have in this episode.
We have Snow, and
we have this new bastard,
and then, Sam, who just got straight up disowned by his father. That was the thing that happened on the wall. He talked about why, like, his father basically saying, you know...
Like, I'll kill you.
Yeah, like, if you don't go to the wall, I'll just say you died in a hunting accident, but I will literally murder you.
Yes. And last but not least, also the King's Bastard, which Ned finds at the Armorer.
The Armorer son.
So I'm curious as to your theories to the significance of that scene on the plot as a whole.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, it makes me wonder what the Hand was doing with him, and if it would have been something to have him Oh my god. Oh man, no, because he's a legitimate heir. He's a legitimate heir, and the Lannisters want as many people out as possible. Because I'm still blaming the Lannisters.
I mean, he is a bastard, though. This guy,
but still, he's better than a different family.
I mean, I suppose. But it's almost like this kid doesn't even know that he's a bastard.
But the thing with it is it's part of the power play. Anyone would want to keep him out of it for as long as possible.
Are you thinking that maybe the Lannisters are gonna like make a move to have this kid killed? Is that what you're thinking?
I don't know if they will. I think they would if he got implicated, but I don't think they necessarily would otherwise unless they. Well, the thing with it is Ned interferes with this boy more, and he looks like he'll become a power player. They would kill him. Mm-hmm. But if he stays the way he is with no one really interacting with him, I don't think anything will happen.
Okay. Well, I guess on the note of like scheming with the Lannisters, I guess that brings me to the question of Sir Hugh, the knight that died at the joust.
100% not like yeah.
Do you think it was the Lannisters?
I don't.
Or who do you think? Because we've already established, like, you think it wasn't an accident for reals. But like, who do you think's behind it? Do you think it's the Lannisters?
Well, the fun thing, because at first when I was hearing about this dude, I thought that maybe he was like the one who saw that the hand was like going to be murdered because Littlefinger brought up the point. It's like, he went from squire to knight even though he didn't have anyone to follow. That does not seem to be proper procedure, at least to me, looking on the outside. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I feel like he definitely knew more than anyone wanted him to know.
Interesting.
And he probably had to die. But who necessarily did it?
Yeah, who? Who's the question?
I'm very favoring Lannister, but the thing with it is I know that it could be almost anyone.
I think it's funny how your answer to nearly every question here is Lannister.
I know. It's still Lannister because, well, you pull the connection from the Hound to the Hound's brother, mm-hmm. and they're very Lannister-ized.
Well, the Hound is for sure, but I mean the Mountain, who is the guy in the joust, he was wearing a different King's colors. He had the yellow and the black, which is and the stag on the shield, which is the Baratheon steel. That's who the king is technically.
Oh no! Wait, I'm sorry. When you said steel, I was thinking of and the knife note.
Sorry, no. It's so the king's a Baratheon. And the Lannisters have married into that there. So the stag is the seal of
the king,
the
actual king.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So, but even though you're right to sort of already feel that the Lannisters have more.
They have a large power play, but
because the only other Baratheon you've seen at this point is Renly, the king's brother at the council.
Yeah, and he sat at the table pretty much so far. That's what he's done.
Well, let's move on to our sort of weekly wrap-up questions here.
Okay.
There's, I guess there's only one death that we have to address, and that was Sir Hugh's.
Yeah, that was Sir Hugh. He died, so our kill count's up to 8.
It is up to 8 now. Obviously since there's one death, we can't really quantify it as best or worst.
But that sucked. And I mean, like, talking about it, like, the Lady Starks had to, like, witness that, like, a whole crowd of people. And I like how in the background, I don't know if the lady, they intentionally made her pale or not, but, like, there's a really pale lady behind everyone, and she was just all, like,
she's like, oh,
fanning
gosh,
herself and, like, ooh.
The sight of blood.
Please make her throw up.
Well, then let's move on to the question of plans here. So, obviously, people are constantly planning and scheming. So, who had the best plan this episode, and who had the worst?
The thing with it is none of the plans have really gone far. We've just seen.
Well, let's talk about the plans that are even just put into motion. So we have Ned's plan that is to investigate what happened with
the hand, which is very solid. That's a very solid choice. We end with like Catelyn's
Catelyn's plan to abduct Tyrion to bring him to justice.
Well, the thing with it is okay, we'll get to this later. What other plans? I mean, there's still the plan of Venerius trying to Viserys, whatever. I'm getting closer.
You're getting closer. It's no longer just venereal disease. It's just Veneris.
I might just settle for Malfoy. But yeah, that's an always sort of thing. which
Yes.
that pretty much loses all the time.
Yes,
Like,
well,
if
they bring
have
it
to-
up. She's like, hey, like, even if I get my people across, like, there,
What are
like,
you gonna do?
What's gonna happen? And
And
Jorah's
it's
like,
not gonna
well,
happen.
Jorah's like, I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work out the way
So
you
if
guys
we're
are
talking
planning.
worst, and he's still like in an episode, it's gonna be him every time because every time he loses more and more standing that he could have by just not talking.
Yes, that's true. So, okay, so he gets worst plan this week. What about best plan?
I really honestly think that Ned's is the best plan.
Okay.
Because in order to get to the root of what's going down in King's Landing, you have to figure out what happened to the previous hand.
Okay.
Like, I feel like that is pivotal. And the thing with it is if, I feel like Catelyn's is almost the second worst because I feel like she did it more in a flight of just sort of, oh, Tyrion thinks he can control, screw it, this is happening right now.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that was what she wanted to do, obviously, but I feel like it's something she sort of got almost goaded into. Not that Tyrion wanted it to happen, but just that him being all like, oh, look, it's Catelyn Stark.
Yes.
Was just sort of like, you know what? There is like a large chance you tried to kill my baby, and I'm gonna use the power I have.
So she gets second worst.
Yeah.
Well,
There's a lot of other plans going on underneath,
Yes.
but of the most obvious ones,
Yes.
like rating them, we would go Ned, Catelyn, and
Viserys.
whatever.
So I guess that would complicate the question of Stark of the Week then. Like, who would you say is Stark? Because, like, the
I don't
immediate
know.
emotional reaction is
The
like,
emotional
yay,
reaction-
Catelyn, like, you did it.
Yeah, like,
but it's like, wait, hold
I
on
love
a second.
that, and the same with Arya. It's the same sort of thing. But if you're thinking of the best Stark of the week, Ned wins for the most, like, doing things, and especially for, like, character things, because that's not a very Ned thing to do.
No, it isn't.
That, like, him actually
Him
delving
kind of sneaking
into the
around
secrets.
is sort of like
Weird,
uncharted
and you
territory
can,
for him.
I feel like you can almost see in his character that he didn't enjoy it either.
No, I know.
Like, he was very uncomfortable the whole time, and he knew what he had to do.
Yes. So Ned gets Stark Stark of the Week.
I think I'm going to give him Stark of the Week, because he did the most moving and shaking of all the characters. I'm trying to quantify this by who has the most, like, character-y things, because otherwise Arya's going to win pretty much every time, because she always adds that
Well,
level.
Arya only had maybe like one or two scenes this whole episode.
Yeah, exactly, but even so, she's still a freaking straight shooter all the time.
Well, then let's move on to
And
the
even, I
question
don't know,
of...
I was even going to say Sansa did all right this week.
She did a little better.
I think
she's
like,
learning the folly.
I feel like it's established more to me, seeing her as a character, that a lot more of what she is stupid is more hormonal than her being actually dumb.
Yes. Or maybe just naive.
Yeah, naive and, like, very much like, and if I go to here, everything will be beautiful and fairy tales and rainbows.
Yes.
But now she is starting to definitely see that there's a dark side to all this, and she's just kind of like, well, crap, what do I do? Everything sucks. I'm going to paint my nails black.
Well, let's move on then to the question of if you had to crown someone king right now, based on how well they played the game, who is it? Who wins it this episode? Who plays the game the best?
That's tough, because
There's a lot of people moving around this episode.
Khaleesi definitely, like, has stepped up as queen. Like, last time she, like, grew a little bit. She knows where she is, and she's, I don't know, you can just feel it.
So are you saying Daenerys
No,
again?
I'm not necessarily saying Daenerys. The thing with it is Ned also does a lot of moving and shaking too, but he is kind of clumsy.
Yes, it's like he's
This is his first foray into doing anything sneaky.
you get the sense too, I think, in this episode that he's just sort of barely scraped the surface, but it's just enough. It's almost like it's interesting because like
and
right
it's
in succession,
fun because
like all
there's
the people
the Cersei scene with him where she's basically just sizing him up. It's like, you're just this soldier, and it's like, I was also taught how to kill. So it's not that he doesn't get what's going on underneath, but he's definitely not a power player.
So who'd you say gets it?
Frig. I'm just gonna do it for the most obvious of Khaleesi. She really is stepping up to her role.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give it to her.
Not only
again.
that, but she's understanding that there's limitations to what she can do. Like she's understood that, like, first off, Viserys is never gonna stand sit on the throne. Viserys is never, or this whole plan with the Dothraki that Viserys cooked up is not going to play out like Viserys planned.
No,
and she's sort of thinking about how to make the best of her current
yeah,
situation.
exactly. And she's the one who, like, the thing is we don't see it as much because she doesn't get a lot of screen time, but you can tell by the way she is.
Well, and she's accepted the fact that she's, like, she's a part of these people now. Like, she's carrying Khal Drogo's baby now.
And she's, like, willing to be herself, but also, like, accept their culture, and that's, like, fantastic. And I mean, especially from the situation she was thrown into, I give it to her again, because last episode was sort of, like, typically shows are, like, let you have, like, a long crawl for people to do this, but, like, within one episode and, like, just one scene, she grew a lot.
So, I guess, before I ask you the question of how hopeful you are, let's hear some predictions for next episode. What do you think's gonna happen?
I feel like I want more stuff to come up about, like, that jousting death. I honestly never have any idea what's going on in good old Pectoros with the Dothraki.
With the Dothraki.
Like, I just don't know, so I'm not even going to try and predict them. Something else is probably going to happen, but who knows. I feel like eventually Viserys is going to overstep his bounds, and he's going to get punished, not by, like, some slave or something. I feel like there's going to be a confrontation between him and Drogo, and it's going to end poorly for him. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I know it's coming. That's the best I can do for them. On the wall, I'm interested to see what happens. I want there to be some sort of, like, ending, like, yeah, we did it, we're actually kind of good, but I feel as if they're going to get thrown, like, on the other side of the wall, and it's going to be a bloodbath. Like the person said, you'll, like, drop like flies.
Okay. And what about Ned's investigation? What do you think is going to come out of that?
I feel as if he's... I hope he gets that there's definitely stuff happening. I feel like he's going to keep on getting more into it, but he's definitely going to... I feel like it's going to be one of those things where he, like, toddles into something he's not able to, and, like, the informants are like, honey, no, please. Take it easy. Whether it be Littlefinger or Varys, one of them is going to kind of do that. Or he's going to have some kind of big revelation. Other than that, those are, like, my predictions.
Well, we'll have to see, next time how accurate you are with those predictions.
All right.
So let's move on then with the question of how hopeful are you? Scale of 1 to 10. How hopeful are you about the events that happened into this? How much hope do you have?
The thing with it is I got a lot more hope when people started moving and shaking and the Starks started becoming more active players. But with that night gone, I feel like they might have been, like, kind of shot in the foot before they had a chance to really go. So I'm gonna put it at... I think I'm going to stay at, like, 6.
6?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, there's still enough, I guess, looming in the shadows,
Yeah, but I don't know. We'll see.
We'll have to see. Well, anyway, this was our recap of episode 4 of Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have questions for Zach that you want to ask him, if you've watched the show or haven't watched the show, feel free to leave a comment for us. You can tweet us at UsefulNPCs. Mm-hmm. We're also on Tumblr and on YouTube, so check us out there.
Same name. Always
same name. Useful NPCs. So yeah, feel free to join in on this. I know a lot of you who are listening are probably the type of people who have maybe watched Game of Thrones before, and you kind of might want to enjoy tormenting Zach with me.
I'm assuming that there's a lot of people out here who know a lot more than we do, and we would like your
probably. or you could just continue to torment Zach too.
Or yeah,
just no spoilers.
Or you could just send me like gifs of like Hodor coming out of a Pokeball. That would be great.
Yeah.
Hodor.
But yes, please no spoilers for Zach's sake, because that'll sort of ruin
I've tried. I've done so good.
He's done exceptionally well. So yeah, well, thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you next time with episode 5.
All right.
See you later.
Oh my gosh, that's halfway. We'll see you on the flip side.
I know. Yeah.